We got your back.
Well, good evening. I'm Lisa Collins, publisher of LA Focus newspaper. Welcome to the First Ladies We Got Your Back, and we do have your back, Townhall series sponsored by Union Bank. And here to kick things off,
First Lady Jasmine Morton-Robinson.
Well, good evening, everyone. Oh my goodness, I am so excited about tonight. You have tuned into the First Ladies We Got Your Back Town Hall. It's a virtual series, and I'm so excited that you've joined us tonight. We're so thankful for our partner, Union Bank and LA Focus. They've come together to educate women, We're talking managing the finances, the financial impact after COVID-19. And listen, I want to know where you're tuning in from. I need to see you. I need to know where you're coming from, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. I want to call your name. I see you, Centrell Janot, all the way from New Orleans. Good evening. Joanne McKay, again from New Orleans. That's my hometown. And my mother's hometown. Hello, Monique, I see you. We want to know where you're coming from on this evening. Jory Miller, I see you. She's from New Orleans, Louisiana. All right, y'all keep it coming. We're excited about tonight. And listen, I want to remind you that we are live. I see you, Joyce T. from New Orleans. We are live. And of course, we are all quite familiar with this virtual space. And so I want to remind you that there may be some technical difficulties because it is a live broadcast, but don't go anywhere. We've got experts working with us and everything will be okay. Just stay with us. But I am so happy to have you. And without further ado, I want to introduce joining me tonight, my co-host, my beautiful co-host, none other than Dr. Debra B. Morton. Come on, y'all show her some love. Dr. Debra B. Morton. I'm going to read a little bit of her bio, but of course, there she is, beautiful. I'm going to read some of her bio. Hi, Mother.
Hello, First Lady, my daughter, Jasmine Robinson. How are you?
I am well. Happy early Mother's Day. I'm going to talk about you for a little bit, and then we're going to come back and chat. Listen, you guys, if you don't know, my co-host this evening is my beautiful mother. She could be my sister. They've already said that backstage, as good as she looks. I mean, come on. I won't even say her age, but I know her so well because I've been a part of her life for 40-something years, and she doesn't. She's got quite a few over that, but it's been me and you from the beginning. Debra Morton is the much admired and beloved senior pastor of Greater St. Stephen Full Gospel Baptist Church. Let me see you. New Orleans, Louisiana. She's the co-pastor of Changing a Generation Full Gospel Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, where she serves alongside her husband, my father, Mr. Letter Rain himself, Bishop Paul S. Morton Sr., who is the founder of the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship International. Listen, last month, she celebrated 13 years. There's my dad and her. Aren't they beautiful? 44 years you guys are coming up on. My goodness. Last month, she celebrated 13 years as a senior pastor, but prior to that, she was a co-pastor for 16 years, totaling 29 years in senior leadership. And before that, she was a first lady. So guess what, you all? I get it from my mama. So I want to let you know, First Ladies are hosting this throughout. I think it's been going on for a couple of months now, but this is for everyone to get educated. And I don't want to forget, she also hosts a virtual morning coffee show. And she wants to welcome all to join her to discover how to wake up and thrive. I actually do the theme song for that morning coffee show. Almost done, Mother. She's a charismatic leader. She's an author. She's a visionary, an entrepreneur who participates actively in her community. But she's also, this is my favorite, a mother to three of us. I'm the oldest, but then She has a son. His name is PJ Morton. He's a Grammy Award winning guy. Grammy Award winning PJ Morton. And then my baby sister, Christiane, who's a brand developer and creative genius. But listen, last thing, we cannot leave out that she is a grandmother to not one, not two, not three, not even five. How about 8? She's a grandmother of 8, which they are the absolute joys of her life. Welcome, Mommy.
Wow. Thank you, First Lady. That was a mouthful. You didn't have to do that. All I say, my greatest accomplishment is being a mommy to my 3 children. That is my greatest accomplishment. Thank you. I'm so excited to be a part of this at Union Bank is sponsoring. And
Amazing.
I'm so proud of my Spelman daughter. She is the host. I am the co-host. But I'm with some good people because, Jasmine, you have been amazing throughout your life. And now to see you just blossom in God. She's a first lady, but then she's a lady-elect. She and her husband, Dr. Debra Robinson, will be taking over our ministries. And, of course, we're building legacy. And that's why I'm here today. To talk about building legacy and First Lady. Shout out to Great. I saw they're in the house.
Yes,
and all of our friends out there changing a generation. And of course, all of our people that we love, our extended family. Listen, I just want to say, beautiful lady, it's a delight. And all of the guests that are with us tonight, I'm just honored. But you know what? During Katrina, I want to speak just a little bit about building.
Well, let me introduce the other guest first,
that's
Mom,
right.
and then we're gonna toss. Yeah, we're gonna toss back to you because we're not alone. Mother and I are co-hosting, and you'll hear from us throughout this. But we have some very special people as well who are with us. So, are you all ready to hear and see who they are? And I saw some people. I see you from Los Angeles. I know it's exciting. It's exciting to educate people and to learn, Mommy. You taught me how important it is not to be an educated fool, but to know and to really understand and to consistently grow. We both are college graduates, but you didn't want us to stop there. You encouraged us to read and to learn, and just even what you're going to talk about. You're helping me even learn how to prepare for my children. But we'll get to that. I want to let you know the main topic for this evening is managing the financial impact of COVID-19. That's what we're talking about. It's been a tough year. And many are unaware of what they should be doing, what they should be thinking about, what kinds of conversations they should have. But we are here to help. And again, I can't thank Union Bank enough for leading the way. They are sponsoring this. They want to start with the women. I'm going to let him share that proverb that he shared with us backstage. But they want to get it to the women. Because it's something about a woman versus a man, and he'll share that. So we're going to first transition now into our first topic. I want to just kind of open the door with navigating the online banking system. And I want to start with this. I know that many of us are familiar with it, but I don't want to assume that all of us are familiar with it. So on a scale of 1 to 3, you tell me, as it relates to online banking, 3 being the highest, 2 being average, 1 being don't even mention it, where do you fall? How do you fall as it relates to online banking? Are you an expert? Are you an average person? Or are you like, I don't want to talk about it. I go into the bank. That's how I find out what I have in my account. Tell me where you are. I want to see you. I want to see your comments. And listen, I'm going to bring in the other panelists in just a moment. As you're commenting, I'm so excited. So our Union Bank representative, his name is Frank Robinson. Come on, give him a hand. They are leading the way in keeping us educated. Frank Robinson is the managing director of diverse markets and community-based programs. He's that executive, you all. He's the diverse markets executive and community-based programs manager for MUFG Union Bank. In this capacity, Robinson strategically advises the president of Union Bank and partners with commercial, business banking, small business administration, affluent, and high network lines of business to enable the most inclusive client engagement and diverse culture, with a focus on key segments to include an array of groups: Black African Americans, veterans, women. This is his focus. Robinson, and I love this part, we talked about it earlier, and I was happy when I saw it in his bio. He's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You all saw how many New Orleans folks we have here. He's a Louisiana native. He earned his bachelor's degree in business management from California State University, San Bernardino. He's also a graduate of Pacific Coast Banking School at the University of Washington. Active in the community, Robinson volunteers and supports numerous events and causes across the country. Let's welcome Frank Robinson. Yes. Good evening. Good evening. How are you, sir? We're so delighted that you're here tonight.
Well, I'm excited to be here. This is my second time coming to this event, and it's been an absolute thrill on my behalf. I mean, it's just been enlightening. And I think you teased everybody with that quote, so I'm gonna let people know now.
Yes, tell them.
The bank was strategically trying to look at how do we be more engaged in communities of color. So we've always thought about a faith-based initiative. And I told him, and I was talking to Lisa, and I said, you go with the first ladies. You talk to the women. And our bank was like, are you sure? It's like, you talk to the women. And because there's a great African proverb that basically says, if you teach a man, you teach an individual. But if you teach a woman, you teach the nation.
My goodness.
And it raised true with me because my mother's a school teacher from Baton Rouge. Graduate of Southern University. 90% of my family graduated from there. But you learn and you're educated. Just Lady Robinson, you talk about the teachings of your mom, Pastor Morton. That is so true. That's where you get it from. So why not? And we're so excited to be here.
So happy to have you.
To answer anything that you may have. So
thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. I'm going to introduce our last guest, our final panelist, and her name is Shirley Ann Robinson, Dr. Shirley Ann Robertson. And she, along with my mother, she's one of my favorite human beings. My mother actually connected us some years ago. She spoke at a conference and I was sold after hearing her speech. But let me tell you a little bit about Shirley Ann. She began her career with the Prudential Insurance Company of America in 1992 under the guidance of her now retired business partner and mother, Miss Robertson. There she is. Together, she and her mom, they built a highly successful firm of Robertson and Robertson Financial Services. She's recognized nationally. Shirley Ann has developed her practice working with women, families, ministries, small to mid-sized business clients throughout the United States, helping them create financial strategies to meet their unique challenges and leave a legacy. That's a key word tonight, that grows and protects their assets. She's also a featured presenter and frequently sought after public speaker at national conferences and programs, including the nationally syndicated Steve Harvey Morning Radio Show. Shirley Ann is a testament to the benefits of silent planning through life's challenges, and we certainly have been through a challenge. Her mission is helping others overcome the financial hurdles of life. Good evening, Shirley Ann.
Good evening. Good evening. It's a joy to be here with you, Lady Jasmine, and of course, my heart, Pastor D, and then to be a part of this, Mr. Frank. Mr. Frank, you nailed it. You are the rose. I think you're the rose here, Frank, amongst us.
He's the GOAT.
I love it. There you go. Well, thank you all for joining me. I got a little ahead of myself, but now I want to jump back into starting the conversation with navigating the online banking system. That's what I want to talk a little bit about. And I don't claim to be an expert, but I have my own personal stories. I ask you to chime in whether you're a 1, a 2, or a 3. I think I've had a checking account, Mom, since I was 17 years old. I stepped foot on Spelman's campus and they had all these vendors. They had it all prepared for us because we were moving into adulthood. So you could connect with this bank, whatever you needed to be an adult, they had it to offer. And of course, I signed up right away. But I ran into a little situation. I did. And I got to be honest, my dad has told the story many times, so it's no secret to some of you. Online banking that wasn't really popular. I don't believe it had come about yet. I started college in 95. And my dad would send me money. My parents, they didn't do care packages and all that, but they made sure I had money in my account. Amen. And I would overdraw my account because the only way you could find out what your balance was, you had to call in, right? And check it. I think ATMs had just become a thing, so you could do it that way. But of course, I'm on campus, no car. So I didn't do very well with that. And I got in trouble. And my dad actually stopped sending money for a while because I couldn't keep up with myself. But let me tell you when a change came. When I started doing my banking online, it was a lifesaver. It was a lifesaver. I was able to tap in, see what my balance was, not get in trouble, still keep the money flowing because I was learning to manage my bank account. I tried the old school way of balancing it and writing everything down. That did not work for me. And so I moved into online banking. I know I have some witnesses here. And I just wanted to share, again, I'm not a banker, but I can only share from my personal experiences how convenient it has become for me. Again, I can check my accounts. I can transfer money from one account to the other. It's available to me at any time of the night, 24 hours a day. I can see what's going on. I can move money. I can set up recurring payments for my bills. Do I have a witness? Has anybody is anyone an advocate for online banking? I saw some other things that I hadn't even considered. Receiving alerts. So those challenges I ran into where, you know, your account got too low, now you can set up alerts so that doesn't happen anymore. So it's really an awesome way. Somebody say it's the pending transactions for me. I see you, Celeste. It's really an awesome way. It changed my life. And so, you know, I want to bring Frank into the conversation because, of course, he is our representative tonight for a bank. Why do you think people have such an issue getting into online banking, and what can you do? What can Union Bank do to encourage it, to promote more of it? Because it's really great. Before I bring you in, Frank, I also want to share one monumental experience, and Mom can speak on this. After Hurricane Katrina, my father is one. He's a pastor. He had his bank days, right, Mom? He would go in to the bank, make his deposits and all of that, didn't believe in an ATM card, and forget about online banking. That just wasn't even a thought. When Hurricane Katrina hit, he had no way to see what was going on. He had no way to tap into it. Mom, speak to that. It was such a wake-up call.
It was scary.
It set him up. Yeah.
It was actually scary because you could not access your money. And so it made a believer out of him because he always did it one way. So we just are so excited that we changed. And Jasmine, you helped us change. She really did. She came, we moved to Atlanta, and I was so impressed with them because I must admit something as well. I would be a little late on my bills and my balance. And my husband and I shared an account. He was like, you have to get your own account. Not good. My husband was a stickler. But listen, my kids inspired me, Jasmine first, when they came home from college and they were paying their bills online. And I said, I don't trust that. They're going to steal my money. And they said, Mother, that is both ridiculous and ignorant. It's the only time I get to say that. Yes. And it was great. It was great. Yes. So you did upgrade us. You did.
Yes.
And I know he can speak to some of the things about online banking.
Yes. Frank, we want to hear from you. Anything to add to what we've shared?
Sure. I think the number one thing that we face is how fast technology has moved. You know, how many of us remember having a savings book and that person putting that stamp in the savings book every time you made a deposit? And you may still have that book, And I have customers to this day who want that, what they call the record book. Technology has moved so fast that people have a fear of something. You press this button and the money's going to move and you're going to pay this. And how do you set this up? Like I said, my mother from Baton Rouge, we had to set her up so she could do all of her, deposits were coming in, direct deposit, and how do you pay your bills and how do you set up these things? First of all, it's a fear.
Yes.
But we have to make sure first as a banker that we empathize with folks and we work to set that up. I would love to see community groups and churches set a day aside to have folks come in to do that. Bring laptops, let's set that up, all secured so people can be comfortable. Now I can't get my mother off the iPad. Right?
Okay.
So you make that change and you make that difference and the fear goes away. And that's what we want to see more and more, Becky, because just like Katrina, there was 17 people stayed in my mom's house after the Baton Rouge floods and when Katrina hit years earlier. So you couldn't get access to the money. Now, what did you have during COVID? You had the same situation.
Sure.
You had to get an appointment to go into the bank to open an account. You had to set up this kind of thing. If you had online, it made it easier. So unfortunately, a lot of folks were not set up. People of color, those in low to moderate income communities, marginalized communities, and they struggled to do all this. And that uncertainty caused a lot of anxiety, panic, and fear. And we have to get that down. So that's one of the things that we want to see. I would love to partner with organizations around making that available for folks so we can eliminate the fear of banking.
That's great.
Jasmine, I want to add to that. Yes. Because the key word I hear is fear and fear and fear. And my goal, my passion for the work I have done over the last 29 years is remove fear and replace it with confidence. And so as a woman, every day, Frank, just so you know, every day at about 12:01, 12:02, I get all my alerts on my cell phone that tell me my balance is in not only my checking account, my savings account, my investment account. So as a woman, Frank, please know I'm walking around bold and sassy because I have replaced fear with confidence. And that's totally my work that I've done over my years is give my clients that sense of confidence so they can walk around sassy and bold as opposed to being intimidated and overwhelmed because they don't know where their money is. So yes, replace the word with fear and move it into confidence. Absolutely.
That's it. And I actually saw my mother just post a comment. She's upper 70s. I won't say her age. And she says it's such a blessing for her. Online banking. She like Frank, like your mom, we can't get her off of it. So it's happening. Change is coming. I saw another comment about the deposits. You're able to take a picture. I know for me, it's a time saver. My husband will still walk his checks in, but I'm like, I'm already done. I've got my day is free. I don't have to go to the bank. So good stuff. Good conversation. We're going to move and transition into our next area of discussion, which I'm excited about because my mother is going to share a little bit about building legacy through real estate. Building legacy through real estate. And Mom, I shared a little bit earlier how I've observed how you've begun investing. And I want you to share your story about how you took over Big Nana's home and all that you're doing. You're doing things personally. You're also doing things in ministry. And I just want you to share with the people your story, how you got into it, the why behind you do it. And then how would you encourage someone else who wants to get into it? How do you start?
Thank you so much, First Lady. And again, great job and great conversation. Thanks for all of you. We all have something to give. And I want to say this, as you taught and PJ taught me and made me comfortable to replace that fear, Shirley, with confidence. I got better at my finances, managing them. And so I was so excited as I begin to even grow in that area. And some of us start very late. And Shirley was a part of this. Whereas I could empower you with something. So you're never too old to learn. That's one lesson right there. My children made me comfortable with paying my bills on time. I never not paid my bills, but I would carry them in my purse and all of that kind of stuff. But let me go into legacy, building legacy through real estate. My story, first of all, I want to thank God for Shirley, and because Shirley Ann is a part of some of the reason I was able to build legacy, and we'll talk about that later. But basically, that's she and I, we both look cute. Listen, I grew up, I came out of a divorce. I asked to stay with my granny, which was my dad's mother. I didn't realize my granny was an entrepreneur. She was a GOAT. She bought her first home during the Depression. I was told, I didn't know anything about that. And there it is now. And she bought the home, and she bought her second home. She sold that first home that you saw to a lady who in turn gifted it to my godmother, which was my granny's daughter. That was amazing. But what was more amazing, my granny bought a second home. It was a double. I was there living. She rented out the other side and she would collect her rent. But she was such she was a beast because she would say, "Hey, where's my rent?" And I would be afraid of the people. So I would peek out before I came outside to make sure they didn't get me, because she was a tough little landlord. But I didn't know that she was pouring something into me. So then as I grew older, my nanny, who inherited that house from that late, was gifted that home, I became her caretaker. We're building legacy now. They raised me. They taught me the things of God, but they also taught me how to manage finance and build legacy. And so my granny passed away, gave her home to my godmother and my dad. Then my nanny, when she became older, I became her caretaker. She gave that house to me. So the first house in the family by a woman, Mr. Robinson, it was a woman, a little bow-legged old lady. I got the first home. How amazing is that? I didn't have to pay. She left something behind. Another lesson. We cannot just live for today. We must live for our future. We must live for our future. So consequently, this was in me. I said, honey, let's buy homes. I don't want to be a landlord. But what I did, when I lost a piece of jewelry and received that claim was fulfilled, I bought my second property. My first property, my daughter lived in that property when she got married, and I made her pay rent. Not market rate, but I had to teach her lessons like, Granny, where is my rent?
Not this daughter.
The second daughter. The second daughter. No, it could have been any of you, because I was teaching lessons. Consequently, I met Shirley. I found another way to invest and to save. But that money came through me owning property. Granny, when she died, so much money in the shiffer roll. How many people know what a shiffer roll? Mr. Robinson is from that area. That what do you call it? That chest. She had money in there that we found that was distributed to the family, because she didn't stop working just because she had property. She worked every day of her life. If you wonder why I am who I am, is because that little bow-legged lady and then her daughter taught me the power of legacy, building legacy through real estate. My final statement is during Katrina. That's when I got the revelation I need to start doing it as well. But during the pandemic, and that's what we're talking about, managing finances now, I could not be on the road preaching and teaching and lecturing. That's my extra money. But because I had rental property, I was able to be sustained and barely missed a beat. Listen, you cannot spend everything. The banker will tell you, there are other ways to save. But when you own a property, you preserve it, meaning take care of it, and then manage it well. You'll never, like somebody used to say, I'll never be broke another day in my life. This is what I'm teaching my children. So I have several properties, and each of them, I've put their names on them. While I'm watching them, I put it on them, their names on it in my heart. I haven't signed it yet. I'm watching
You know what?
how they treat me. People that are watching, people of God, God wants us to live a blessed life in our community. That's why I'm so proud of Mr. Robinson. He tells me Mr. Bashful was his father, Dr. I mean, it's legacy. And this is an area that we suffer in. But I like Gucci and I like Louis, but I will never spend my money on that and don't have anything to leave behind. Shoes will wear out, purses will go out of style, but property will never fail you.
That's so good. That's so good, Mom. And thank you for leading the way in that. We saw some good comments, passive stream income. Do any of the experts want to chime in on what she said? I know both of you can speak to that.
I think that the part that I hear consistently is Proverbs 13:22. A good man, woman, leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. Pastor D, that's what you live. That's what you do. And that's just who you are. And I'm always so honored and flattered to say that you allow me to serve you as your advisor. But that's the key thing. From day one, I've always honored the way that you're willing to learn and you're willing to change. And that becomes so many people's challenge, is that I've always done it this way and I'm not going to change. The truth of it is that, be willing to allow somebody to pour into you. Even now in this moment, as we're talking, we've been chatting for the last 30 some minutes. My question is always, what notes are you taking as you think about your own self and your own life? What are you reflecting on? I'm always so real with folks. Don't spend this time now and don't make a change. Don't listen to us and not make a change. You have to listen, take notes, and make a change with your life, because that's how we evolve and that's how we become better as individuals.
That's so good. Being good stewards, that's what's ringing in my ear. How do we be good? How do we become good stewards? Doing these types of things, having wisdom, all we have to do is ask for it, and he'll show us ways. He'll give us new direction on how to do that. Go ahead, Mom. And if there are any questions from the audience, please chime in.
Oh, yes. The Bible says that money answereth all things. And I put out there on social media to advertise this session, this town hall. How? This is one of the ways that money will answer problems and issues and desires in your life, because you have put forth the effort. As Shirley said, you're taking it serious. Seriously, I had to get to the point where I understood that there are those that I have brought into this world, and they have brought those into this world. I have policies, as we're talking about, for my grandbabies. We can't be selfish, everything for us. That's not biblical. You leave an inheritance for your children's children. That means on and on. So we're not here by accident. It was intentional moves and decisions that we made. And I became friends with bankers. Normally, sometimes in our neighborhood, we run from the bank. I empower people as I go. To tap back into what Jasmine said, I helped a young man. I could not believe at 40 years old, he had never had a bank account. Now I'm so proud of him, and I won't go on about him. We've got to pour this back into our community and our children. I see you, Deacon Joyce. We've got to pour it until they get it. Because if you don't put in nothing, you will have nothing. And nothing from nothing equals nothing.
You know, Jasmine, I want to chime in on what your mommy just said, and I'll say to you how Pastor D pours into me all the time. So, you know, my own testimony, my own situation was, you know, when I started with Prudential some 29 years ago, my mother said, Shirley Ann, before you can sell it to anybody, you must first own it. So she made sure that I had my first $1 million worth of life insurance. Yes, folks, I said $1 million. I didn't say 25,000. I said $1 million. She made sure I had a savings account. She made sure that I had money going for my retirement to my 401k. She made sure I had disability insurance. She made sure I had long-term care insurance. All the insurances my mother made sure that I had. So just like how you talk about how your mommy continues to pour into you, Jasmine, your mommy pours into me. Wow. My mother let me realize that the significance of being financially confident was so important, because it's not if something's going to happen, it's when, and when it does, will you be ready? Fast forward, when I started with Prudential at age 22, at age 25, I have a major car accident. And out of nowhere, at that moment, my life went from being normal and enjoyable to having to learn how to walk and talk again. Wow. So every time I get a chance to share this moment, and Pastor gave me the confidence to share my testimony over and over again, it is the reality that if it weren't for my mother, who made sure I had disability insurance, my mother who made sure I had a savings account, my mother made sure that I had the medical and the long-term care insurances, that 12 months, almost 16 months of me now having to regain who I was, I would have been financially devastated. So that's where I really always try, from my own story, share and say, if it weren't for the wisdom of my mother, I would have been financially devastated. It's not if something's going to happen, it's when, and when it does, do you have the necessary financial products, the financial foundation to not only survive, but to thrive through the moment?
But listen, I got a quick story about real estate in her life, because I know we're going to get to her area, Shirley. But I want to say this. I was talking to my financial advisor, Miss Dr. Robinson, and listen, I said, Shirley, it's getting late. I know that, what time is it there? I said, oh, it's Central Time in Chicago. I know you have to go because I'm sure that the building is closing. And we were just talking. And she was like, you know, she has that Jamaica accent. She says, no, man, I don't have to leave. I said, oh, okay. I own the building. I'm like, excuse me, sit down somewhere and just shut up, Debra. I was so impressed. I own the building that my Prudential business is in. That is impressive. And I tell you, that's right, Jazz, lift your hands.
At the door,
Mother,
okay?
Yes. So I just wanted to say that as it relates to real estate. And I know that they're moving into your area, but that blessed my life, Shirley. And I said, well, guess what? I'm going to be in a building one day. When they said, go home, I said, no, I don't have to leave. I own the building.
I own it. I open, I close. That's so good. This is so rich. And I'm just getting excited because we have more to come. And I know, you know, I was just sitting here thinking, Shirley Ann, you've been blessed. I'm blessed to have mothers and family members who sewed into us and who poured into us. And I know there's some women out there who are saying, well, I don't have a mother like that. I didn't have a grandmother to get it started. But I know you can speak to this, Shirley Ann. When you come, it can start with you. You don't have to have that history or that experience. It can begin with you, and you can begin leaving a legacy for your children. So I just wanted to add that in. We are going to move on. We've got more for you. Frank Robinson is up next, but before we hear again from him, I want to share a short commercial from our sponsor. our commercial ready? Any questions from the audience as we're waiting for that commercial?
I was looking at different banks, and Union Bank was able to look at my potential when no other banks would lend to me.
All right. Well, we are moving into Unbanked. If there are any questions, feel free to chime in as we move on. But we're moving into unbanked and underbanked households. And I looked at this, and still seeing it kind of shocks me, Frank, because I just assumed, again, my naivete, that everyone had a bank account, that everyone wanted a bank account. But I remember there was a documentary that I saw some years ago, and it was about these check cashing places and these payday loan places. And I realized that a lot of people went that route instead of setting up a bank account. So this is your area of expertise, and I just want you to take it away. I want you to share with the audience tonight the importance of having a relationship with a bank. And thanks again to you for sponsoring Union Bank.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
This has been a blast. If people saw my head down, it's because I'm taking notes myself.
I love it.
This is just incredible. And everybody's talking about their mother. Let me tell you some things real quickly about mine. My mother made sure I understood credit, because she said credit was almost like a testament of your character now, and how we look at things. And I think you need to start, building your credit to whereby you have that, because, for home ownership, credit is important. 41% of Black families in this country own a home. 68% of white families own homes. So there's a definite wealth gap that we're seeing. The average person, Caucasian, probably has $100,000 of net worth, but the average Black person has $7,000. So there's this widening gap that we're seeing, and it's only getting wider and wider. And so there's been a social conscience around this issue. And so we need to figure out what we need to do to create wealth in this country. And the first leg of that is home ownership. We can talk about investments. We can talk about owning your own business. Now, Shirley's done all three, so that should tell you where she's at. But it's very, very important for us to think about that, because my mother would always say, you made it in financial circles when you can put your head on the pillow and your money is making money. So we just don't think about it as a job. Your money is making money in investments and real estate and what you're going on. When we look at the unbanked, unfortunately in this country, over 22% of the folks in this country are underbanked or unbanked. And the difference is somebody who's unbanked does not have an account anywhere. They go to payday loans to get, to pay a loan, to get an advance, to do these sort of things. Underbanked is somebody may have a checking account, but still uses an alternative lender for financing of some type. Now, understand that some payday folks, when you set it up, the interest rate is around 300%.
Crazy.
Amazing. It's
astronomical.
So devastating. And you'll never pay that back. And what we're seeing now is they're moving away from Black communities and moving towards military installations near them, because they know these veterans are these military, especially these what we call non-commissioned officers, are low paid, and they know they have to get their credit, and they know they have to maintain, so they're paying, and they're moving away because they're feeling the stigma from saying, hey, we want you out of our neighborhood, but now they're moving over here. So we have to be very careful, and we're really trying to make sure that people understand that you should need to start a checking account. Now, Ms. Robinson, Lady Robinson, you made a good point about Spelman and going to college and walking on campus. The first thing I saw when I went to LSU was credit card. I didn't even
that
credit
too.
card, tables. I
stayed away.
I didn't even see the classroom.
Right.
I didn't even see where the textbooks were. The first thing I saw was, hey, get a credit card.
So true.
But I remember a friend of mine, and I'll make this story real. One of my best friends at the time bounced checks. And we used to call him the mad bouncer. I said, man, you got to stop that. Your parents are giving you money. You're doing all right. What's going on? He was just bad with money. Then when he's about to graduate, he didn't pay on it. And so he went into something called check system. Check systems is on there for 7 years. He couldn't open up a checking account. Understand, he graduated with a degree as an engineer, but still had to get a physical check and still had to go to a payday to get it cashed for 7 years because no bank would open up a checking account for him. Now imagine that. So you're 22 years old. You're 29 now before you can open up a checking account. So, and this is underbanked. And all that money is taken away from him because it's 1 to 3% of his paycheck being taken away. So please be careful of that. We have people who actually talk about fear again. Fear banks. My dad, for example, great guy, but if he had two dimes, he tried to spend a quarter. You have to be careful. But one of his things that he told me, says when I told him I was going to be a banker, he said, the best black business idea is dying the parking lots of banks. And that was an eye opener for me because it let me know that banks had not been historically great about helping people of color, women. So what can we do? There was redlining. We talk about housing. I know, Shirley, I know you know all about redlining and what has been devastating in our community. So we have to do a better job of educating folks like what we're doing today and like we will continue to do because of legacy to ensure that our families have the property they have. I said I was from Baton Rouge. I have researched my family tree for 200 years. There was property that was left to us. We can't find it. We don't have it anymore. We know where it is, but somehow the deeds were taken from us or whatever. So that wealth was taken from us. So we have to understand that. We have to do a better job of preserving what we have and building that legacy for ourselves and our family. The underserved, when we talk to folks, we have to do a better job of educating them about bringing them in to the banking system. And wherever bank you go to, open up account, make sure you understand the rules and regulations, make sure that you understand what overdraft fees are. And we get nonprofits to do that. If churches want to get that together and help folks, we can do that. And then let's start working on building our communities. And the only way that's done is everybody in that community must not only survive, but now move to thrive. So I wanted to share that point. And I ask anybody to add on to that about the underbanked. It is something that we have in this country, especially to communities of color, that we need to improve upon as far as getting them, moving them out of that and into the mainstream of society, and hopefully developing a way in which they can become wealthy. And wealth is not what you make, it's what you have.
Yes, yes. I see we have a question here. Thank you. That was excellent, Frank. I just love what Union Bank is doing to keep us educated, because I think we can assume that we know, but there's such a lack of knowledge out there. That's why these conversations are important continuously, because things are ever changing. So it's important to keep talking, to keep growing, to keep learning. We have a question here. What age should a child open an account?
We have accounts you could be 2-3 years old, open up an account. You have, first of all, you have trust accounts.
Yes.
Right. You have a trust with your child. Then we used to have something when they were like 6 years old called a junior banker account. Banks have these. You have the little piggy bank. They give you a little piggy bank, and they stamp your book. And we had at one time years ago. I remember this when I was a branch manager. You put deposits in, and they would stamp your book. And if you got a whole collection, you could redeem it for a gift certificate. It'd be like, a shake at McDonald's.
Love that.
Crazy stuff. And, we have people who still says, I still have my book. They're in their 40s, 50s, or 60s and say, I still got my book. But you have junior, when you have a teen, there's teen savings accounts. And of course, all those are free, savings accounts. And then they transfer over. You have certain banks have teen checking account, so you can start them with checking. I think it's important to say this, and there's an interesting statistic by the Department of Education, which they said you are 7 times more likely to go to college if you have a savings account. Mm-hmm. We need to get our young folks to have a savings account, no matter where. And it's
my parents did that for me. I'm so grateful. I see my mom wants to chime in. They did it, and it was helpful. And I also remember taking a class. I'm not sure if it was elementary school. I had to have been, because we were so excited to get these little fake checkbooks. They taught us how to fill out a check. Great, great, great school. This was my favorite part. Fill out a check, make deposits, all of that stuff. They started us early. I think that's so important to still do that. I don't know if schools are doing that anymore. But go ahead, Mom. Pastor Morton.
You're on mute.
And I was, yes, in my day, I'm glad that Mr. Frank is talking about this. We all were excited for the day we were able to open a savings account. And the parents, you see, there's an old adage, a child lives, but they learn what they live. So back in our day, our parents would take us to the bank at a certain age and open, and we had that passbook, honey. That was like, we thought we had some money. Open a savings account. Guess what? We couldn't open it in our names. The parent's name has to be there and your name under it. But they would say to us, it's a teaching moment. This is your bank account. So they exposed us. So naturally, at the age we could actually open one, we went to the bank. If you don't teach lessons, kids will never learn them because they weren't available. So all of us, and I'm thinking as he's talking, I didn't know they still had that. I'm taking all my grandbabies to open them an account. They got to have the experience. They've got to.
Let's take it one step further. If a church, because I've seen this with Girl Scouts. The Girl Scouts would arrange a bank day. So a Girl Scout troop would come in, they would get a tour of the bank, look at the ball, look where the teller stuff, and branch manager would sit and work with the head of the troop, the scout leader. Then they would open up an account for each one of the girls, and all the bankers would make this huge presentation, like yay, and be clapping and everything. And these little girls would have their own books, and they would take a little photo and all that. Imagine that if we get at churches and we make sure that happens, and we set aside some time where, we set up an appointment where they can open up the account. Those are fun type things that children will remember for a lifetime, and you get them on the path of banking. So I just
so good.
Share that.
Thinking outside the box. Sometimes we get so stuck on youth choir and this and that, but the basic fundamentals of life. I love it. My son is 17. He has a checking account. He has an ATM card. He checks his balance. We start them early, and that's what I hear. Model the behavior, and then they'll want it. Build the excitement. Go ahead, Shirley.
Absolutely. I think it's all about raise up a child in the way that they should grow. When they grow old, they will not depart from it. I love what the way Frank explained. It's, Frank, it was not intimidating, and I think that again becomes a challenge. So we started with the word fear, then we now replace it with confidence. We take now the intimidation out of it. The way you said 300% on a payday loan, that's half the money there's gone, Frank.
Man.
So many times people don't realize that it's almost like signing their life away by doing those payday loans. Mm-hmm. But the way you expressed it, I just the intimidation part of it. I know as I saw the audience reading, they were saying that, I get it. That becomes the click moment. That becomes the aha where I go, I should do that. And just like we've said, they start as a child and they keep on doing it as they get older.
That's good. That's good. Another question here. Is Union Bank a Black-owned bank?
We are not.
They're not. Okay.
We are part of, actually, MUFG is our parent company. It's Mitsubishi United Financial Group, which is a Japanese-based bank. It's the 5th largest bank in the world. Union Bank has been around for 150 years in California. And so we were acquired by MUFG 100 some years ago. So we've been working in step with them. They have operations all over the world, but we are not a Black-owned bank. But
your specialty, though,
impressed with is we have a good, strong diversity record. When we start looking at employees, when you start looking for our imprint in the community. So I've been here. I haven't told anybody this, but I've been here 25 years, so I'm staying.
Amazing! Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. I love it. Yes, and I know some of you may have missed his bio, but yeah, you work in the area of diversity, right? That's your focus. Here's another question. It's a long one. How do you address that there are so many communities which don't have banks in the communities? There's so many underserved communities that only have, and I've seen it, payday loans and currency exchanges. Great question.
And there's an historical context to that, and let me explain that real quickly. There were these great community banks all over the country, especially I'm just saying California, for example. They were all over California. They started to get bought out by major corporations, major banks, huge banks, and the cost of doing business started to elevate in certain communities, and really low to moderate, because you could take in a $500 deposit or you could take in a $5,000 deposit. And as those assets started to increase, they were saying, we don't need a branch here. So they would close that, and we would call those our bank deserts, food deserts, where we don't have grocery stores, we don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, we don't have access to banking services. And that's what happened. You had to get on a bus if you didn't have a car and go all the way across town to get banking services. That's why we're kind of pushing, and why we're seeing a great avenue around technology and online banking, because it's so important. But you're right, we started to see this, and that's why back in the 70s we created what is called the Community Reinvestment Act, CRA, to say, if you're going to put one in Beverly Hills, you need one in South Los Angeles, right? If you're going to put one over here in an affluent area, you make sure you have that. And the banks are now regulated on that. But it still is not enough. We need to see, and we need to have community groups. We need to have folks advocate for having a branch in our community, because what we know is every community has money. Every community has customers. So it's important for us to service those customers and to be great in those communities. And so it's incumbent on all of us, including churches, to band together to say, we need a bank here. I mean, certain churches are getting together and creating their own bank, which is even a greater asset. We'll start to see, hopefully, what we call MDIs, minority depository institutions. So hopefully we'll see more Black-owned banks, because that's where to me, that's where that question was asked. Can we see more Black-owned banks? And I think you're going to. I think there's a real big push by the Biden administration to make sure those things are created, because with that, you can put them back in those communities and do the loans and do the servicing that is need, and making people successful future life. If you haven't seen this great TV show called The Banker, it was a movie. That's a life lesson. The first time it came out, I had to say, well, I'm a banker, I'm Black, I gotta go see it.
Yeah. Denzel was Denzel.
It talked about Texas and the things that happened down there.
Samuel Jackson, that's right.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson was in that. And it's fantastic. I encourage you to see it. But we need to see more banks. But we really need to see you have a relationship with your banker. I tell the story all the time. I know Magic Johnson. I'm just not sure Magic knows me. And what I mean by that is, you may know your banker, but does your banker know you?
Wow. And
so you need to have a conversation with the branch manager. What are your dreams? What's your aspirations? What's your business? What is your business plan? All of these sort of things. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Black people tell me they don't know the name of their banker. And they can't call them up and talk to them and have a conversation. If they walked in, they don't know them. We have to make sure that's changed, because our goals, our aspirations, a job of a banker, a true banker, is to be a dream maker.
Frank, the part I want to hit on, for you is, I love what you just said. Knowing your banker is key. Qualifying for that PPP loan made a difference if you know your banker. Oh my goodness, so many of my clients didn't know their bankers. And so to your point, I'm so glad you said that, because knowing your banker made a huge difference to if you got the PPP loan. Huge.
Wow.
To this point, and I'll make this last statement about the PPP. What we found was that Blacks did not apply, and we didn't see the number of African-American business owners that applied. What we really found was they didn't know their banker, to Shirley's point. And I'll give you a point. We knew that the PPP was coming out on a Saturday morning. People were lined up on a Saturday morning. But if you knew your banker, that banker was filling out your application on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Wow.
So all those got put into the system Saturday morning before the branch was open. You're sitting out in the hot sun. You think you walk in 3 hours later because they're taking people one at a time. You walk in, you're thinking you're first on the list, and you're last. So we have to make sure that you know your banker, so that banker putting your application at the top, putting your stuff in, because that's how you must have a relationship.
So good. Such a great conversation. And I think people, this is good because some people don't even think that's appropriate. So you're helping people tonight. People think that's for millionaires and multimillionaires, but no, you, whatever you have, need to know and should know and have the right to know your banker. We've got to move on. I know this is rich, but we're moving on to another expert, Shirley Ann Robertson. She's going to be talking about financial essentials that are necessary in this moment. My goodness, I can't wait to hear what you have to say, Shirley. I want you to take it away. Financial fundamentals. I know her focus is on legacy planning, but have your way. Have your way.
Absolutely. You know, I'll start where I'll build on where I started. Was having that financial foundation was how I survived from my car accident. You know, if it weren't for my mother making sure I had my $1 million worth of life insurance, disability insurance, savings account, all these financial fundamentals, where would I be? So many times people look at it as, you know, I'm not trying to leave anybody anything. You know, what I love about hearing Pastor D say is my grandbabies, because they call me glam mom, I want them to know what I'm leaving for them. And she made sure that she's got something left for them, that when the Lord calls her home, they'll be set. You know, I view that, Lady Jasmine, as empower. And the way I'll put the word empower, I kind of break it down. And this is where we're going to start jotting down some more notes, building on everything that Frank just gave me, because I promise you, Frank, I was taking notes on what you were saying. I want you to write down these notes I'm going to give you. The word empower means this. Evaluate where you are right now. Just pause and evaluate where you are financially. The end says, let's start looking at your cash flow, because in this moment of COVID, so many people are realizing that, you know what, I was wasting a whole lot of money, spending a whole lot of money on gas. But have you used that money from the gas bucket to put it into the savings bucket? And just like what Frank says, put that money in the savings account at the bank. So the money that you're spending on gas, move that into the savings bucket. So that's where I have my clients evaluate their cash flow. How many of us have everything coming out automatically? So we've got the Netflix coming out, we've got the Prime coming out, we've got all these expenses coming out of the checking account. And how much TV can we watch? How many different channels can we watch at one time? Yes. So all that money that you're spending on the Prime and everything else, move that money into the savings account. Then I want you to think about the P, and the P starts for planning. Now we start planning about where we're going to be for our retirement. If in our kids' college education, our life insurance, legacy, we keep hitting on the word legacy because that's so key. A good man, woman, leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. Then I move over to the word O. And that's now where we start owning things. We start owning life insurance. We start owning the right amount of auto and home insurance and retirement accounts and 401k making sure that we own our properties, just like what Pastor D says, because having that real estate, walking in, putting your key in your door and you walk into your house, that's about ownership. Then I move to the word W for wisdom. Folks, all of this is about wisdom. You've got to start realizing that, you cannot keep your head in the sand any longer. This moment of COVID, we're going on 14 months right now living in a pandemic. Who would have thought we would be in a pandemic 14 months later? And so many people are starting to realize that, you know what, I was not a good steward of my money. I did not have the wisdom, or more importantly, the discernment to be more intentional with my dollars. The E is about education. And that's what we're giving you tonight, education, for you to be fed, for you to be nourished, so that you can feel and do better. When you know better, folks, you've got to do better. And the R says that with all this empowerment that we're giving you tonight, I want you to keep on reviewing, because finances is never a set it and forget it. The life insurance that you had some 10 years ago, if you had some more kids, if you bought a bigger house, if you bought more real estate, like what Pastor D is doing, buying up the whole New Orleans, you need more life insurance to cover those mortgages. You've got to make sure that you're constantly reevaluating. It's about the relationship with the banker, the relationship with the financial advisor. It's all about the relationships, because you being empowered financially, that sense of confidence, when you know better, you do better. The way you feel about your money permeates every aspect of your life. And so as you're listening tonight, make sure that when you're hearing these money conversations that we're giving you, these nuggets, because I was taking notes on Pastor saying, taking notes on what Lady Jasmine, and of course, my good man, Frank. I'm saying to you, what notes are you taking that you're going to bring back as the woman to feed your family, so that your family can be empowered? And just like I gave you each one of those words of what it means, be empowered financially, and that will transcend to so much of your life.
That's so wonderful. Shirley Ann, how can one start? I mean, I want you to share a little bit about what you do. What are some easy ways? So I know we have a range of generations represented tonight. So how would someone, maybe an 18-year-old, begin to set up their life? And then someone middle-aged, just getting into their career, not middle-aged, but around that age where they're starting their career. And then someone who thinks, I waited too late. What can they do? What are some things that they can do to make sure they're good in the long run?
I love the way you said that. And the part that I always put my clients at ease, Lady Jasmine, is by saying this: wherever you are, let's just get started. Do not sit there and think, I wish I could have, woulda. Wherever you are, let's get started. And the moment you can take your head out of the sand and start walking through the light, then we're going to be in a good place. But to give you sort of those financial phases, when I just graduated from college, I was fortunate enough that my parents helped me buy my first house. So when you're just starting out, I want you to focus on doing exactly what Frank said: open up the savings account. You're starting now with your employer. When you're just getting out of college, you're starting with your employer. Put as much as you can into your retirement account. Put as much as you can. Put money towards the savings and the retirement. And then when you get married, now you say, I gotta have life insurance. Folks, I've been doing this 29 years, and it has been in that time where I've seen many times where folks say, I ain't trying to leave nobody rich. Well, what? Why not? You have kids. Let's make sure that your kids are going to be provided for. There is no 3-carat princess cut platinum ring on my finger. There's been a whole lot of bozos, no Boaz, but I walk around with financial confidence, because though there is no significant other, I make sure as a woman I'm feeling confident. So you had your kids, you've got the life insurance, and then you start looking at college funding for the kids. And then you move into the age 45 time frame. And now we start talking about, is this the time to really dial back on what you were spending on the fun stuff and focus more on retirement? Because you can kind of see retirement getting a little closer. So you need to put more towards retirement. And then when we get to the 50s and get to the 60s, now we're really heading for that space. But now we start talking about long-term care insurance. Now we start talking about cash value life insurance. So there's all of these various products, Jasmine, and you said it so well. There are phases in one's life that these products make more sense. But wherever you are, I will always say to you that don't be intimidated. You know, I Pastor D will call me all the time, and she, you know, we're morning people. And Pastor D, sure, I got a question. And she will keep me on the phone. She want to get her question answered. Well, I love the way there's transparency with Pastor D, that you'll ask me a question. Teach me, Shirley. Tell me what's going on. And that's what I love about when I'm working with a client, that there's zero judgment from me there, but I need you to be transparent because that's how I will help you. I add the story to it. I'm in the office and I get here about 6:45. And, you know, my phone is off of voicemail. And so I get a call at 7:13. I remember the time specifically. And I get a call from a client. I said, what's going on, Mr. D? How you doing? He said, Shirley Ann, you know, I don't know if you're seeing clients right now in the midst of COVID, but I need to see. Now, in my 29-year experience, there's only two reasons why a client wants to see me, is that they're getting a divorce, or, you know, he trying to do something on the side. And you know, either way, I'm going to let him understand himself. But this particular time, he said, no, ain't no divorce. I love my wife to death. But I just found out I've got stage 4 prostate cancer. And my heart dropped. My heart dropped. And in that moment now, I've got to sort of raise up to let him know that, brother, we have done the planning. We have done the planning so excellently that the days when you were calling me to stop the premium on the life insurance debit, the days you were calling me to stop the debit on the college fund, the days you were calling me to stop the debit on the retirement, I would never let you do it because I'm going to be your financial bully. Wow. But the good news was, within 3 days of his passing, Prudential had a check in my hand that I could walk into that household and she's in good order. Now, emotionally, she's broken. She's only 51. So the reality is we've got 2 kids that still need to go to college. That still needs to be handled. But financially, she is not broken because we've done the planning when they were younger. And as life went on, as their finances needed more life insurance, I was recommending more. I'm not here to peddle anything. I just know that it's not if something's going to happen, it's when, and when it does, will your family be ready? Will you be ready?
So good. So good. So awesome. Mom, do you have anything? I know we've got to wrap up. Thank you, Shirley Ann. And I know you're not, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jasmine. I just wanted, that was so compelling. And I just want to say that the Bible says that when you have been restored, restore your brother, meaning your sister, your brother. And this is the thing. I know something else could be online tonight, some type of entertainment. You know, I'm just going to throw out some names, Kanye, this, that, and the other. And people will stay on all night to see that. But this tonight, I want to thank Union Bank. I want to thank you, Mr. Robinson. I want to thank Lisa, all of you, for being here, and our listening audience, because that stuff will entertain you, and tomorrow it has done nothing for you. This information grows you. And like Jazz was saying when she was young with the overdrafts, and I would slow on pay my bills. Shirley, you know, didn't know until her mom taught her. Oh, he saw the credit cards. We all have been there. No shame in our game. But this is the thing I want to say. When you have been restored, when you learn better, as grannies used to say, do better. When you've been restored, you know what I want to challenge you to be? Be a leader. You say, be a leader. Yeah, stop being a follower. Stop running with your crowd. Be a leader. Start with this and say, I'm going to teach somebody what I used to not know. And so this is what this is about. So I'm just happy to be a part. I have learned, I've taken notes on my phone, and I'm pushing hard. Listen, I am looking, being a friend of a banker. I have a young little banker. He's such a precious heart, a Christian. But listen, I call Ronald and I wear him out. I wanted to buy property. And somebody said, this is a good deal. I called him. He gave me a whole nother perspective, things to think about. It was land. You're going to pay for the insurance on the land. You're going to do this. By the time you do that and sell it, you may have eaten up all your profits. I thought it was a great deal. My banker, Mr. Robinson, my banker steered me another way, and I love him. So I just want to say that be a leader, determined to be a leader tonight and lead somebody to their promised land. Thank you. And thank you, Jasmine.
Yes, yes. This was amazing. Listen, if you have any questions right now, you need to get them in. We're going to toss to a commercial and then we're going to wrap it all up. I've been so blessed just to be a part of this, just listening, learning. I'm jotting notes as I host in between. So good. But sending your questions. And now let's hear from our sponsor again.
I spent a lifetime being told no. No, your skin's too dark. No, your skin's too light. No, your company is too small. No, you don't have the experience. And now I can take no as a new opportunity. My company's name is ICE, which stands for In Case of Emergency. And we provide safety training and equipment to corporations across the U.S. I was looking at different banks, and Union Bank was able to look at my potential when no other banks would lend to me. I remember there was a time where my kids were really small and I was going back and forth with increasing our line of credit. And the branch manager said, well, we've really got to get this done. We got to get it done today. So she said, where are you? And I'm like, I'm at the park with the kids. And she said, I'll meet you at the park. And I'm like, this is the branch manager. When we fast forward to 2020, the global pandemic, all of a sudden, everything stopped. There is no darker moment when I have to look my employees in the eye and let them know that they're going to be furloughed. I could not believe after so many years in business that this is how it was going to end. When I look back at all the times that Union Bank supported me, one of the greatest moments is when we received the PPP funding. It enabled me to bring back my employees, to pay the rent, and we did it because we had the support from Union Bank to do that. I'm so happy to report that the state of our business in 2020 is highly successful. Union Bank was there for us. They always had our back. This is way more than a bank. This is a true friend and family member. We are a partner in success.
Yay, 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 Union Bank. We thank you. We thank you for partnering with LA Focus. My goodness, I want to hear any last words, Frank Robinson, and then I want to show where these people can reach you all, where we can reach Shirley Ann, where we can reach Frank. I know they have some slides with your social media information because unfortunately we can't get every question in. We have talked until we have run out of time, but there's so much more we can say. So Frank, what do you want people to leave with tonight?
A couple things. Number one, Pam Eisen is one of our clients, but I remember when Pam started her business and got it going, and the impact that she had. I mean, we underwrote her for going to get a kind of like a master's program at UCLA, and we did some other things, and she was just great, and she's always been a fantastic person for us. But that's how we want to treat people. It's like, to me, it's like, I don't want to be your business bank. I really don't. But I'd rather be your business partner to try and work with you and try and help you. I think as we go through this pandemic, I said this in the last time, and I'm going to say it again. We have these setbacks, but, I had a pastor once tell me that whenever you get a setback, don't take a step back because God's already preparing you for the comeback. And I think we have to understand that every time there's something that's put in front of us, God has that plan. And we just need to work with each other, and we can rise together to solve it, because it's going to take all of us. the last thing I want to say is, when I told my dad I was going to be a banker, he made that statement about the banks, but he also said this to me. I said, Dad, I'm going to be just as successful as you are one day. You know, my dad grew up dirt poor in Baton Rouge, and he got his master's degree and became successful later in life. And I said, I'm going to be successful like you. And he turned and looked at me and said, son, I never wanted you to be successful. I raised you to be significant. And I think that's the most important thing I wanted to share, because everyone on this call, everyone listening to my voice has an opportunity to be significant in the lives of others. And as long as we can do that, I think we'll all be successful. Everybody will succeed. I think there's an opportunity to raise our communities and raise our children to a point where they are successful, they walk with confidence. And I just wanted to share that this series is about that. So thank you so much for being a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. I think they said we're going to take one question, but I'll go ahead and wrap up. Thank you to our phenomenal panelists. Mother, I love you. Pastor Morton, happy Mother's Day. I think they had a family photo they were going to show. Happy early Mother's Day to you. Not going to be with you, but this felt so good because I felt so connected to you.
I got my gift today. And happy Mother's Day to you. Yes, your Mother's Day is coming. That was our 40th wedding anniversary. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
But in closing, and I'll be brief as they get the other question, what I got from this is learn so you can live. Learn so you can live well. Learn so you can learn how to leave a legacy. Just learn so that you can live. We all want to live a wonderful life. We all want to live a well-educated life. We want to be knowledgeable. So let's keep learning so that we can live. Will you all agree with me tonight? Let's keep learning so we can live. Even experts, listen, experts, we need you to keep learning so that you can keep teaching us so that we can grow. In closing, I don't see a question that's come through. I want to remind you to keep an eye out on the website for our First Ladies We Got Your Back final town hall. That's great news. There's one more of these. So I want you to subscribe to LA Focus. You can subscribe to their YouTube channel.
She left, Jasmine. I don't know what happened to her internet, but there was a question. Of course, she's saying to go and follow everyone, the panelists, so that you can contact them if you need to. There was a question. I want to close one of my checking accounts, and will that affect their credit score or change their banking score? And I want to say no, but Frank, I know you can answer that. Not at all.
No,
not at all. No. There we go. Well, I'm the co-host. I don't know what happened to my beautiful daughter, but I want to say lots of love to you. Happy Mother's Day. All First Ladies. There she is. Happy Mother's Day. Jasmine, take it away. Thank you for joining us. Jasmine?
Yes, no, you've got it. Thank you, Union Bank, for being a sponsor of this series. Come on, let's give it up one more time for Union Bank. Awesome. So impressed with what you're doing. Want to wish everyone a wonderful evening. I know on the East Coast, it's much later than it is on this end. So enjoy your evening. Go ahead.
And subscribe to the YouTube channel. She's the lady behind the scene, LA Focus. And let's talk podcast. And of course, you know, Lisa is powerful. Yes, she is.
Yes. I didn't know when it cut me off. Definitely subscribe so you can be a part of this continued conversation. All right. Well, we love you from afar. We love you virtually, and we pray that you continue to learn so you can live well. Good night, everybody.
Awesome. Good night.
Bye for now.
We got your back.